The rhythm of the ward. The high acuity unit was a symphony of alarms, hurried footsteps, and the relentless hum of ventilators. For Mila, a young nurse only a year into her career, the noise felt like a rising tide. She stood in the center of the hallway, her hands clutching a clipboard, feeling the familiar deer-in-the-headlights sensation. Her brain was a whirlwind of tasks, medications, dressing changes, and charting, but she felt frozen by the sheer weight of the data. "Deep breaths, Mila," a voice said, breaking through the static. It was Elias, a senior nurse whose calm was legendary on the unit. He had seen the look on her face many times before, the cognitive overload of a talented nurse drowning in a sea of checklists. Mila looked at him, her frustration bubbling up. "I'm just checking boxes, Elias. I feel like I'm missing the forest for the trees. I'm terrified I won't see the one thing that actually matters." Elias led her toward a quiet corner near the nursing station. "You're focused on the what, Mila, but you need to focus on the why. When you feel that freeze coming on, I want you to use a routine. Look, listen, trend, check, act. It's not a checklist. It's a way of seeing. You look at the patient, listen to the story the monitors and their body are telling, trend those numbers over time, check your intuition, and only then do you act. And when the situation gets complex," Elias continued, "we use the clinical judgment huddle. Even if you're just huddling with yourself, you identify the cue, state your concern, choose your priority, explain why that priority matters, and predict the complication you're trying to prevent. It moves you from being a task doer to being a clinician." Mila nodded, repeating the steps under her breath, feeling a small spark of control return. Later that afternoon, Mila entered the room of Arlo, a patient recovering from a complex abdominal surgery. Usually, she would have headed straight for the IV pump to check the rate. Instead, she paused. She performed the routine. She looked at the pallor of his skin. She listened to the subtle change in his breathing. She wasn't just checking a box, she was gathering a story. Elias joined her at the bedside a moment later. "Walk me through it," he whispered. Mila took a breath. Identify cue. "Arlo's heart rate has climbed from 85 to 110 over the last hour. State concern. He's becoming tachycardic despite being on pain meds. Choose priority. Hemodynamic stability. Explain why. If his rate is climbing while his blood pressure is trending down, he's compensating for something. Predict complication. Hypovolemic shock." As the sun began to set, the unit grew busier, but Mila felt different. The deer-in-the-headlights feeling had been replaced by a quiet, vibrating alertness. She was no longer just a passenger in her shift. She was the navigator. She kept returning to Arlo, trending his data in her mind, watching the slow, silent shift in his condition that a simple checklist would have ignored. Suddenly, Arlo's monitor chimed, a soft alert for a drop in blood pressure. Mila was in his room in seconds. He was awake but looked dazed. She touched his skin. It was cool and clammy. She didn't panic. She ran the huddle in her mind instantly. Identify cue. Hypotension and cool skin. State concern. Internal bleeding. Priority. Immediate fluid resuscitation and surgical consult. Mila grabbed the phone and called Elias, her voice steady and clear. "I need a huddle in room 4. Arlo is showing signs of a concealed bleed. His HR is 125. BP is 88/50ths. My priority is volume replacement because he's losing preload. If we don't move now, he's going into cardiovascular collapse." She wasn't asking for permission. She was stating a clinical reality. Elias burst into the room, followed by the surgical resident. He saw Mila already hanging a bag of normal saline and positioning Arlo to optimize blood flow. "She's right," the resident said, checking Arlo's abdomen. "Get him ready for a scan and call the OR. He's got an active bleed." Elias looked at Mila, and for a second, the chaos of the room faded. He saw the transformation complete. An hour later, Arlo was in surgery, and the immediate crisis had passed. Mila stood by the sink, washing her hands, the adrenaline slowly ebbing away. She realized she hadn't felt like a deer in the headlights once during the entire emergency. She had known exactly what to look for, what it meant, and what to do next. She had trusted her judgment. Elias walked up and handed her a cup of water. You didn't just follow the routine, Mila. You lived it. You saved him because you stopped looking at the boxes and started looking at the person. Mila took the cup, feeling a new sense of belonging on the unit. The noise was still there, the alarms were still ringing, but she finally knew how to hear the music in the chaos.